Hi everyone. If you are new here, my name is Rachel and this is a Christian-based ASMR channel. However, today I am going to be sharing my updated testimony. So I hope this video will be a blessing to you. I will kind of just get into it. So I grew up living with my parents and my younger brother and sister, and we grew up going to a Seventh-day Adventist church. If you're not familiar what that is, um, it's a I guess sect of Christianity that doesn't really follow the Bible or follow the gospel, in my opinion. I would look more into it. I won't say too much about it, but if you're interested, feel free to do your own research. But I grew up going to a Seventh-day Adventist church. So I was introduced, thankfully, to the Bible and to Jesus from pretty much my whole life, which I'm very thankful for. I'm thankful that my parents did raise me in the church, even though it wasn't the church that I would go to today. I'm thankful for, just having that early introduction to faith, because I think it really helped me kind of build my own moral compass before I really truly got to know Christ and was saved later on in life. So my home life wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best growing up. I won't go too much into this video, but I will say I have always been a very sensitive person, and neither of my parents really were capable, either because they didn't have the capacity or the awareness or knowledge on how to, I guess, deal with that or help me with my big emotions. I think a lot of people in our generation can relate to that. And so I began acting out a lot, probably from feeling misunderstood or feeling unheard or feeling emotionally neglected. I really noticed I started to have a lot of anger once I hit puberty, probably like around age 12, so 6th grade. Things really started to change for me, as it does for a lot of young girls especially. But I feel like my mood swings were pretty intense, which caused a lot of like fights and arguments between me and my parents. But in public, for the most part, I was still pretty well behaved. I think it was more so at home where I would self-isolate and kind of use the internet as my escape. Which unfortunately, I think just because of how fast technology was growing, I don't think a lot of parents in that generation really knew how to like get ahead of everything, especially for children who were really smart and curious like I was at that age. I was exposed to a lot very young. And things like pornography or online chat rooms, just a lot that took away my innocence, I would say. And once I kind of was exposed to that, I had this image in my mind or this idea of my mind of how to get attention, because I think that was what I was seeking above all else, is just attention and validation. So I started to seek that out in all the wrong ways, as you can imagine, maybe what that would have looked like, whether that was, experimenting with drinking, or smoking marijuana, or, just doing a lot of reckless things, going to parties, trying to seek approval from other guys. That was kind of like my teenage years. And then as I kind of got to college, the summer before college, my parents got divorced. And so I think from age like 18 and 19, I wasn't really walking in my faith at all. I think it was kind of like in the back burner. And I think I would actually still read my Bible every day, which is interesting, but I would just live in a way that was completely contrary to what the Bible would instruct. So I kind of had a pretty reckless period of my life, and during that time I started dating my ex-boyfriend, who was my first like real serious relationship. Um, and yeah, that ended. I was really hurt. Um, let's see. Around that time, we we broke up, and then it was 8 months later we got back together. Um, we tried again, broke up again. I've kind of throughout my life had this attachment to people. When I'm attached to them, it's really hard for me to let go, and so I'll kind of go like back and forth for a while. Um, and then later on in life, I kind of found out about attachment styles, and that's been really interesting to me. I would encourage you to look into that as well. And this concept called limerence, which is basically just this romantic obsession about someone that you form an attachment with. And usually it's pretty one sided, or you tend to like that person more than they are like you back, or at least are reciprocating and showing effort back. And so I've definitely struggled with that my whole life, pretty much since I hit puberty. Um, so yeah, all that to say, um, God is delivering me from those things. He's delivered me already from a lot of those things. Um, I would say throughout my 20s, I was pretty lukewarm in my faith. And it wasn't until probably like my later 20s or even into my 30s where I really started to understand the concept of grace. And so when I was 29, I moved down to San Diego, where I still live now. I'm from another place in Southern California. I grew up in Southern California, probably, I think, like about an hour east of LA. I'll just say around that area is where I grew up. But yeah, around 29, or when I was 29, I moved down to San Diego to kind of just to start fresh. And it's definitely been a game changer for me. So I actually moved here in 2020, and as you can imagine, that was pretty rough. I didn't really know anyone. I had just started a new job, and then 2 weeks later everything like shut down, so we had to like go completely from in person to learning how to work virtually. I had actually just gone through another breakup with someone else. And yeah, I wasn't connected with a church or anything at the time, so it was just rough for probably like a year or so. And then in 2021, I was introduced to the church that I currently attend, where I feel like a lot changed in my life. I feel like God really just blessed me with an abundant community all at once. So I kind of went from like zero to nothing. I didn't really know anyone, and then I went to knowing so many different people through my church and through other little circles as well. Which is something I've been praying for a really long time, is just like especially like a single Christian community, because back home all of my friends are married now and have children, which I love, but if that is like all you're surrounded by, it can be really isolating and lonely at times. And I think that was, without even knowing, I think that was another reason why I moved down to San Diego. I still have a lot of married friends down here as well, but in addition to that, it's I'm surrounded by a group of Christian singles as well at my church, which is, yeah, again, been such a blessing. Sorry, I'm looking at people walking by. So yeah, that has been just amazing. I feel like I go to a church now that's very gospel centered and intentional, with just how they share the gospel and how they preach the gospel and encourage that in our lives through meeting with our church family. We have, home groups, and we have something called DNA, which is like meeting with 3 to 5 people of the same sex, and we kind of just encourage each other and also like confess or share anything that we're struggling with, confess any sins that we're dealing with, pray for each other. Sometimes we read Christian books or um, yeah, just other things like that to kind of help build our faith. And then in addition to that, a lot of us just like hang out socially on the weekends, through game nights or movie nights or doing social activities together, which I think has been such a longing in my heart for so long. I'm very adventurous. I love doing activities. And so, yeah, that's been such a blessing. But kind of going back to some of the things I've struggled with in the past, such as just, yeah, romantic obsessions or lust and sexual immorality. God has been delivering me from those things. Drinking too much, different sins. And I think it's just been so evident how he's been delivering me from these things, because things that I struggled with even a year ago, they just make me feel like icky. And yeah, I just continue to desire living by God's word. And so I know I'm kind of all over the place. I think because I've already shared my testimony, I feel like I don't want to go too into detail again. If you haven't already, I would encourage you to watch my first testimony video on my page. But yeah, this is kind of just to update everyone who, even if you're new here, or my subscribers who have been here for a while. I know I've kind of shared bits and pieces here and there. But yeah, that's kind of where I am today. God's definitely continuing to transform my heart and transform my life. As some of you know, I was involved with a man last fall, so a year ago. But we ended things, and now I am just continuing to heal. But how it's funny, like something I've always been is a romantic, kind of going back to being very sensitive and emotional. I've always had hope for a marriage someday, children as well, yes, but I think like the idea of like a partnership and a marriage is something I desire more. And then with that, I think I would also desire a family with that man. But I think that's something God has also been transforming my heart on, is just to have like hope for that. I think when you've gone through heartbreak or heartache time and time again, it's easy to get discouraged and kind of like harden your heart or close off and not even be open to dating again. And I don't even know if I'm there yet or if I'm ready, but it's amazing how I continue to have this hope for my own godly marriage someday. I think this past, we'll call it a relationship. It wasn't an official relationship, but I still had a relationship with this person. So this last relationship taught me so much about myself, and even that in itself is a blessing. Because I've realized that I have gone most of my life kind of as a victim, which is really uncomfortable to say, because that's not fun to kind of realize. And I can be very selfish, I can be very impatient, I can be careless with my words, especially when I'm upset. And this person kind of like brought that to light by telling me, and also just kind of like being in relationship with him, it kind of like exposed a lot of this that's been in my heart. And so I've also just been repenting from that and wanting to be the best version of myself for my husband someday. So even when something doesn't work out, I think there's so much that can be learned still. so much we can take away um, if we allow God to reveal those things to us. So, anyway, the things God has delivered me from are probably some things that some of you struggle with, whether that's anger, pride, sexual sin, so many other things that we all struggle with. But I just want to tell you that it's worth it, like coming to Christ and just laying down your life, choosing even a more peaceful and calm life, even when you're not used to that. I grew up in a very chaotic environment at times, where it would kind of just go from like very calm and quiet to like angry outbursts and kind of like walking on eggshells. So when your nervous system kind of gets used to that, um, that's kind of what you become accustomed to in your romantic relationships as an adult, unfortunately, until you start to get healing from that. And so I don't even know where I was going with that, but I was going to say that even sometimes in my faith when it feels boring, just because it's more stable now, I'm also trying to embrace that and even see that as a blessing and as a gift rather than just constantly living my life in chaos or self-sabotaging or creating chaos or drama in my life just because I've been used to that. Um, I've become more appreciative of the calm and stable and peaceful life that I've had these past few years. So, I wanted to encourage anyone else who maybe has a similar background, um, and you're just ready for a change, you're ready to break free from those things, just please go to Jesus. Like Jesus will always be there. That's something I've learned throughout this whole process, is that other people will let you down, other people will abandon you, other people might reject you, but Jesus never will. Um, he's always there and he always will be there. So that's something I would encourage you to do today, if you haven't already, is just ask God to reveal himself to you, and he will. Something else I would like to say is just kind of going back again. I know I'm all over the place today. I think I might have had a little too much caffeine. Um, I have an event after this, so I'm also maybe a little rushed. So I'm sorry. But yeah, something else I'd love to encourage anyone with who might be struggling in the area of relationships and just like having difficulty letting go, because I've definitely been there so many times where I feel like I've given so much, or at least I felt like I gave a lot to someone over and over again, or I'd give the same person, so many chances. Um, some you do that so many times, and then one day you don't even realize it, but you just like completely lose attachment to them. You completely lose feelings for them. Um, and then a lot of times that's when they try to come back, and you just realize like, wow, you think it would like feel better almost, or you've waited for that day for so long that you expect it to be, you know, so significant, or you expect to feel so happy that you've moved on. But the reality is you kind of just feel indifferent. You're just kind of like, oh, I don't really care about that person anymore, or, you know, everything I built them up to be in my head was kind of a lie, or it just feels, you just feel free. You're just like, I don't really think about them anymore. I feel indifferent. Um, and that's happened with every person I've been attached to so far. And I know that's possible for you as well. I know it might not seem possible, especially if you're going through like a heartbreak. But it is. And God wants you to be with someone who is going to encourage you in your faith and both of you will continue to grow in your faith together, and that you will, help each other and help build each other up rather than tear each other down or make each other feel insecure or feel emotionally neglected. Like, yes, some of those things might come out at times during your relationship and marriage, because we all have triggers and we all have, past and things that we're healing from. But the overall relationship shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't feel like weighed down or discouraged. And so, yeah, I just wanted to encourage anyone who might be struggling with that today. And I think I will end here. I hope that was a blessing to someone. Please let me know if you have a similar story. Please let me know if you were encouraged by this. And please let me know if you have any questions. I know I kind of maybe brushed past a lot of the things. I definitely wasn't as detailed perhaps as I was in my first testimony video. I kind of just summed it all up. But Jesus is good. He's so good. That is the takeaway message today. So I love you guys. Please come back soon. I hope to have another video for you all soon, and enjoy the rest of your day.